Hello everyone, I am a little bit excited today. I'm going to work on a project that I absolutely love working on, and it's my December daily book. I'm working on a 6x8 format. I still have 2023 to finish off, but I need to start my 2024 off, and hopefully I will get both albums pretty much done by the middle of January, I'm hoping. I don't want to set my sights on the end of this year because it is coming way too fast. The other day I posted a video where I shared the title page of this using these mix and match ephemera pieces that I have. These ones are no longer available, unfortunately, but I do have another pack of them, so I might bring some of those in. I know a lot of you have purchased those. I have sorted them all out and I've got them all in these trays. I've spoken about these trays before. They are really good for organizing a project like this. I've got some of my days cut here using the alphabet a la mode dies. I think they're going to look really cool on these layouts. I'm going to try and keep the same format throughout this album, and I'm using the brushed silver and gold foil specialty paper. It's got a bit of a texture to it, which I absolutely love. So I might switch between the gold and the silver. You get gold and silver in this pack. I'm trying to pull the silver out here. It's not cooperating. It will depend on my photos as to which color I use, whether it's the gold or the silver, depending on the embellishments. But at the moment, I think it's primarily going to be gold, but we'll see how it goes during the course of the project. That's why I haven't cut all of my numbers out yet. I'm going to see how I go during the course of putting this fun album together. Now, this is part of a YouTube collab with the creative design team, and all week we are sharing ways of scrapbooking with sketches because we have launched two brand new sketchbooks. One is a 12x12 sketchbook that is using 6x6 pattern papers. A lot of us have 6x6 pattern paper stacks and we don't know quite what to do with them when it comes to scrapbooking on 12x12 pages. But the ideas in this book can also be used with 12x12 pages because then you just cut them down to the measurements and everything that we have in our cutting guides. We have volume 3 of 6x8 and it can be used for any type of project. It doesn't have to be December daily type projects, and you can upsize these very easily to 8.5x11 books. I have picked a sketch from this. I'm going extremely simple with my days of December this year. I sort of want a very clean look, so I'm going to do 2 pages with you today, and I've picked my sketch out, as I said, from the 6x8 book. I will have links to these books below. We have quite a few volumes available now, and it's very exciting. I love creating the sketches, and they really are a lifesaver as a jumping off point for creating layouts. I'm choosing this one today. It is one of the simpler ones. I'm just going to turn this over. You can see there are more detailed ones here, and a lot of them have been designed as a double page spread. I'm not actually going to use this one up here. I'm going to use this format to go across my 2 pages. So I'll just put this off to the side so I can refer to it. The reason why I chose this one is because I'm going to be using tags on my page. So I'm going to have a tag for this element here, and where the journaling is here, I'm going to put another tag right next to it. And I'm going to alter my tag a little bit from the ones that come from this mix and match collection. So these collections are on the last product. So if you like what I'm showing you, go and check them out. We have lots of stamp sets in our stash that we can create these sort of pieces, but having all the sentiments here and the tags already designed and done makes scrapbooking these sort of pages extremely easy. It doesn't have to be gifts and it doesn't have to be card projects that you're using for these. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was I've changed my mind about how I'm going to store my sketchbooks. I have a few 8.5x11 books from close to my heart, and I've decided that I am going to punch holes in the ones that I've got printed. It's going to work fine here. You can see because I've been doing the spiral binding, it sort of doesn't look as pretty, but rather than having all my books separate and having to bring them all out individually, I'm going to start putting them into an album like this. So I got this printed at Officeworks. I got the 200 GSM weight just to make it a little bit more sturdier, and it is a little bit cheaper than having a spiral book made. So that's how I'm going to store them, and I have to work out how I'm going to do my dividers on here, but that's a project for another day. So let's get started in creating my layout here. I picked the sketch that I showed you because I like the design of having one photo off to the side in this orientation. So these are the 2 advent calendars that I bought for this year. Every day we open an advent calendar, and technically the jigsaw puzzle piece one is mine and the chocolate one is my daughter's, but we are sharing the chocolates and together we're building the jigsaw puzzle. It's the first time that I have actually done a jigsaw puzzle as an advent calendar, and I'm quite loving it. So this might be a new tradition for us, I think. So I'm thinking I'd like to put this tag on the side of here, and I wanted another tag to be exactly the same as this one. So basically I can just turn this one over, and I'm going to use this as a guide. I'm going to cut this out of white cardstock or white willow cardstock so I don't waste the gorgeous decorativeness of this tag. I might use that later on, but I'm using this for sizing. And then out of the little sentiments, I picked joy here because we do have a lot of fun together doing this. And I'm thinking that might go quite nicely over top of this one. So you can see from this design, I've got my photo represented here, and I've got like a journaling spot that I'm now using as a tag. And for the strips down the bottom, I thought I would bring in the Regal Distress patterns, and I love the gold foiling on here. So that's going to suit the gold foiling on the tags and the other elements that I'm bringing in. But instead of following the actual cutting guide here, I'm going to make this a little bit more minimal. So I've got a strip to go across the bottom here in the white, and I'm wondering if I will ground that a little bit more with a strip of red. So that might be all I need. So you can see I'm building my 2 pages at the same time because I do like a little bit of cohesiveness across the pages. Now I've got pine cardstock here because I did build my title page on the dark side of pine. You could use Mossy Meadow from Stampin' Up, and I'm just going to build this first page back to back because I think the pine works really well with the tags on top of it. So that's basically the base for this one here, but I am going to cut another tag for this. Now, when it came to this side, I wanted something that would sort of match in with this, but not be too matchy-matchy. So I'm not doing both tags on here. Now, I was looking through the sentiments, and I've got May All Your Days Be Merry and Bright here, but I have 2 of these, and I'm not sure that I'm going to use them for any Christmas cards. So I'm thinking that might be a nice spot to have my photo on, and then that becomes a journal spot. Now every year I purchase a new Santa, and this year I actually bought these in May while I was on my Alaskan cruise with Julie Carrier, and I saw these, and I know they're not made in Alaska, but I quite liked them, and they traveled home with me, and they're my Santas from this year. I write on the base of all my Santas the year that I purchased them, and this one I'll probably write Alaska on there. I love having this sort of tradition that I do every year, and even though I said I wasn't going to buy any more that were stand-up or big ones, I couldn't resist this set of 3. So that's why I've got the every year on here, and I think a sleigh will work quite well. There's not an icon in here with a little Santa on it, and I really think it would have overtaken trying to match another Santa on here. So I'm thinking, because I want to do a little bit of journaling, I'm going to put that down and have the 2 coming off the sleigh, and then I'm going to journal onto this card, and I'm going to edge this card with some gold using my metallic paint marker. So I'm just going to put that off to the side so that I will do that. And I think what I'm also going to do is hide my journaling on this one. So I'm going to create another tag. I've got a 2-inch strip that I'm going to hide down behind this tag so that I can pull it out and do my journaling on. I've got this very old tag maker punch that is from Stampin' Up. So I'm just going to punch the hole in that, and then I'm going to decide how long I'm going to make the tag later on. So I need to get a piece of white willow out. So I've trimmed down my piece. There's one corner that's a little bit bent, so I'm going to use that one to cut away the edges, and this is quite easy to do. So you just trim a rectangle, and then I'm going to use this as a guide to cut away the little corners on here. And then of course I have to punch a hole. I've got my hole punch, and I'm just going to line that up and punch the hole for that. And then I've saved this tag to put with my other ones to use later on. And then I'm going to dress this tag up a little bit because it looks a little bit plain. Even with my photo on here, I think I need to dress this up. So I'm going to bring in some more of this paper, and I'm going to adhere this to the top and the bottom of my tag. So I'm just going to run adhesive across here, and then I can line this up across the top. Make sure that's nice and straight behind there before I trim it away. And then I can turn my tag over and trim away this section. And cut this corner off. And I've overhung it just a little bit, so I'm just going to cut that one off as well. And then I can adhere this piece down to the bottom I think this is a nice way to dress up a tag. And this just adds an extra special something. So now, of course, I need to punch another hole, and I've got my tag all custom made and ready to go, and I've got a white edge around my photo. Now with printing my photos, you can do this in Canva, but I have a program called Artisan. So I've brought my photos into that and I've sized it, and then I've put text over the top of it and printed it with the text on here. I'm thinking wherever I've got some space, I'm going to do this with a lot of my photos and put a little saying here. So I thought it would be fun with day 1 and 2 to have every day and every year. So I'm really liking how this is looking. I am going to adhere this down, and then I'm going to decide on what other elements I'm going to bring in. Actually, I've just spotted this little holly jolly sitting in my sentiments here, and I think that works really well in that corner. And then I'm going to build everything else up around it and trim this down so that I know that I've got like a double tag option to pull this up. Now when I'm adhering this, I'm going to have very minimal adhesive around the edges. So I think I'm going to use my glue for that so that I can put a fine line around this so that my tag is able to slide in and out. So I'll be back once I've adhered these items down, and then I'm thinking I might bring in some of these other little elements to dress it up a little bit more. I've adhered most of the page down, but I do need to work out how long to cut my tag. So I'm thinking I want this one poking up just about this much. So I'm going to put a little pencil line here so I know where to trim it off. And I do want to do the gold edging around the edges of this just to dress this one up a little bit more too. I've only put a very fine line of glue around this with my Barely Art glue, so I can come down quite a ways, and I'm just going to test it before I do my pen work on here, and I think that's going to look quite cute. So I wanted to show you how to do this. This is something that Katie Donaldson Taylor showed us all quite some time ago, and we just love it, and it's a really good way to use these Spectrum Noir metallic paint markers. I'm going to use the chisel tip end. I'm just going to make sure that it's flowing. So that looks pretty good. And I can't really see the edge of this, so that might make it a bit tricky. I'm going to get out a piece of cardstock. So instead of doing this on the white, I'm just going to use this one. And now I can see that line much better. So I'm just going to make sure that's all flowing nicely. And I'm just going to come down around the edge of all of these corners so that I get a nice gold edge, or not corners, along the edges. And this is a really quick and very simple way to dress up a white piece of paper. So, and that's my one for my journaling spot. Now, I tore this one a little bit when I was pushing it out. So that's going to go underneath my photos. And I just want to make sure this is nice and dry. Yes, before I go again. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with this tag. And I need to tie some twine into this one. So I've got a 12-inch piece here. I'm actually halving it and then halving it again because the holes are quite large on these, and I don't want a fine piece of this. This is the real red and white baker's twine. I had to write all the names around here so that I could remember exactly what they were. And I'm going to use my trusty crochet hook here to help me feed this through. So unlike the other day when I did my title page and I left the holes naked, I'm going to finish these ones off. So hopefully Katie will forgive me for not finishing them all off on my title page. This is quite snug, but it does fit. What I'm going to do is just trim this down just a little bit. And I'm going to wait until the paint dries a little bit because it is a paint and I don't want to smear it too much. You can see where my fingerprint went there. So I'm just going to touch that up. But I'm not going to redo this because when I do my journaling, that will cover up that little mess that I made with my finger. So one thing to remember, these are a paint marker. It's paint that you're dealing with. You do need to set it aside to dry. Now I can start assembling this right page exactly how I had it laid out earlier. So for the most part, I've got things adhered down. I haven't pressed too much on my photo here. I might be putting some more embellishments and everything behind that. This tag, however, I was struggling to get my little tag in and out of this. And once it's in an album, it's just going to be too tight. And I had trimmed this down a little bit so it fit a little bit easier. So what I've done is I have doubled up this tag to give it a little bit more weight. So I've just put it on some white willow and then I trimmed around it. And I've got some thin foam strips here. And this will mean that my tag is able to slide in and out of this very easily because I'm going to have to cut a slit in my memory protector so that it can be pulled out. The other thing that I didn't really love was the fact that this, when it's in there, has 2 layers of this twine. So what I've done, I'm not going to punch a hole in this one at all. I'm going to bring in the real red and white adhesive back peppermints. These are a fairly low profile. You can see they're not very high at all. So I'm just going to work out which one I'm going to put on. They're 3 different sizes. So there's a large, a medium, and a small size. So I think I'm going to push the medium one on. I'm just going to pick that up and see if I like the look of that. I think that's just the right size. And that fits in there quite nicely. And then I'm going to use those to decorate the rest of the page once I've finished putting my embellishments on. Now, you might have seen with the positioning of this, I did have it a little bit lower than this tag because when I put them at the same height, with this one poking out from the top, it was just a little bit too much to have those side by side. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit and that will create a little spot down here where I can put some more embellishments and then just have it fairly close to this other tag. So using foam tape will work really well. I think because I use liquid glue on this, that holds this very, very flat. So there's not much leeway here for sliding an element like a little tag out. I'm liking how this is coming together. I've got my peppermint dots off to the side. I've layered up this one here. Some journaling is going to go there and I'm just looking at what I might do to further decorate this page. I thought because I've actually sorted this tray into like elements. So all the leaves and the greenery and the poinsettia are all together. And there's actually some leaves here that match this tag. So I'm thinking it might be cute to have those coming across the bottom. Now you do get 2 sheets of these. So I'm just wondering if I'm just going to cluster them along the bottom here. There should be another one hiding away, but I can't quite see it. But I don't know if I actually love that look. So maybe I'll make it into a little garland with a bow. And I can pop that on here and move that up a little bit. And then because I've used some foam tape here, I might just pop this one up on foam tape. And I did say at the start of my video that I was going to keep these pages fairly clean and simple. I don't want to put a lot of decoration on here. My photos are generally going to be a little bit smaller. So a little bit of foam underneath this will work well. Maybe the small ones will be better. Just some dimensionals here. And I think the bow finishes this off nicely. And just take the backing off. I might just change this just a little bit. I haven't pushed these down too much. This stamp and seal is quite permanent, so you don't have a lot of time to move things around. So I just have to learn just to sit things until I'm happy with the placement before I push down on them. I'm going to bring that in just a little bit more. Pretty happy with how that looks. And then my bow is going to go over top. So that finishes that page off quite nicely. Now I've got this side. The Holly Jolly nestled in quite well here, and I like staggering these sort of things so that you get the perfect place to put something like this. And that's what I've created by bringing this tag down. And I love the number 1 underneath this joy little sentiment here. Even though it's supposed to go on a card, I think this just sums up every day when my daughter and I do our advent calendars together. So maybe I can bring, I know I'm still on this one here, maybe I can bring this element up onto this side. So that brings the blue across. If I find the other one, I'm going to tuck that in under there. I know it's around here somewhere. Actually, it could be hiding just under there. There it is. Put this one this way. So the greenery is at the bottom. And then this one here. I think that looks quite sweet. So on this side, I'm not quite sure what else I'm going to put on here. I may just leave this like it is. I love the little sleigh with the gifts on it. It represents the Santas. And I am conscious of the fact that this is only day 1 and 2. And I do want to use these as much as I can on my further layouts. And I do have another packet, as I've said before. So I may open that packet and bring those in. I don't mind having repeated elements in an album album project, I think it works really well, especially a theme project like this with December Daily. So now I'm just going to sprinkle a few of these little peppermints around just to finish this off. I don't want to put too many on there. I'm going to have to see if I can order another pack. I hope they're still available. So I'll probably just put 3 on each page. I need to put a couple on here as well, just to bring another one of these in. Probably pick the larger one up with my fingers. I am getting the hang of doing this. I've found that if you come from the side and work your way in like that, it's easier to pick these up. Previously, I was trying to get them from the top, so sliding them this way makes it much easier to use the putty end on this to get things to work. So where am I going to put this one? Just off to the side here. So there's my day 1 and 2 of my December Daily project. I'll put a link to how I did the title page in the description below, as well as all the product that I've used that is currently available at the time of me doing the video. Before I disappear is continuing doing the little dots with my pen here, just to make it look a little bit cohesive throughout this album. I'm going to try and keep it as a little bit of a theme. And these sort of touches don't take very long to do at all. I just have to remember not to smudge them or get my hand in the way when I'm doing them. So I'm going to rotate the page rather than reaching across. So I think I'm definitely finished now, apart from doing my journaling. Make sure you check out the other Creative Design Team videos where we're all taking inspiration from sketches, especially our brand new sketchbooks. I'll have a link to the playlist for that below, as well as a link to our sketchbooks. I absolutely love them. I've only just had mine printed, so I'm really ready to flip through and use them more and more. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting and bye for now.